This is a short presentation prepared by Barry Baker on the indissoluble links between Mount Lawley, Inglewood and the city of Stirling. First, some background. Today's suburb of Inglewood is made up of parts of three colonial land grants. Part 1, Swan Location Y, bounded by the avenues from Central Avenue north side to Homer Street, Dundas Road, 11th Avenue and by Hamer Parade and Carrington Street. Part 2, Swan Location X, part of which is between York Street and Walter Road, and Part 3, Location AB, a large part of which was Government Reserve and part of the Tennyson Estate, which lies at the northern end of the suburb. The key figure in the foundation of this suburb of Inglewood, in Swan Location Y, was the somewhat shady entrepreneur Charles Ernest Dearly, who was born in 1849 and died in 1904. Dearly was born in Hackney, London, and came to Victoria in 1869. There, and later in South Australia, he engaged in speculative enterprises such as floating gold mining and real estate companies. Dearly came to Western Australia in the early 1890s. On a visit to London in 1894, Dearly persuaded investors to set up a company called Gold Estates of Australia, with £100,000 of capital, one of whose enterprises was to buy Swan Location Y from General Charles Dallas Alexander in 1895. That land, consisting of 367 hectares, was bought for £7,000. The land had been earlier granted to John Gregory in 1830, which later passed into the hands of Edward Burkitt and then Mary Hutton and George Baker, and was finally bought by Charles Alexander in 1886 for £3,000. Charles Dearly never lived in the area, but managed it from a Perth office. In 1900, he handed control to Edgar Walter Hamer, who was born in 1862 and died in 1943. Hamer built a large house at 731 Beaufort Street. The area of Inglewood was divided into 4 rectangles in 1895, the first of which was Inglewood, the second Pineapple, and the later 2 segments of Maylands. This area had slow beginnings from 1897 to 1918, but accelerated from then until being essentially built upon by 1940. Swan Location X was originally also granted to Mary Hutton in 1844. Subsequent owners were Frederick and Henry Sherwood, who bought it in 1885, John Langtree Riley, a surveyor from Melbourne, and in 1894, Robert Crawford of Victoria. York Street and Crawford Road were surveyed in that year. Thereafter, the land was parcelled and reparcelled and sold. The last section around India and Buller Streets was finally developed by George Robert Ledger of Carris Brothers Jewellers. The commencement of development in Swan Location Y prior to 1921 was slow. Except for the hilly ridge that runs along Carrington Street, this part of Inglewood was uniformly flat and semi-swampy. Considerable areas needed draining, this being undertaken in the first 2 decades of the 20th century under the direction of the municipal engineers. This governed the settlement in the area. Thus, the development of 6th Avenue and Central Avenue, east of Beaufort Street, was slow because of this. The first houses in Inglewood were built in 1905 in 7th and 9th Avenues. In summary, in Swan Location Y, 14 houses were built before 1911, and 47 houses were built between 1911 and 1920. Within the next 10 years, practically all of the property in this part of Inglewood was taken up. In Swan Location X, this part of Inglewood didn't have the drainage problems present in Swan Location Y. It was more undulating and had slightly higher elevations. There was, however, little development prior to 1920. The development of this area post-1920 proceeded more evenly over the next 2 decades. A little about some of the services in the area. Firstly, the trams. The Beaufort Street trams were extended into Inglewood on the 17th of August 1923, when tram number 17 was extended from 2nd Avenue to 7th Avenue, single line only. This was extended to Dundas Road on the 25th of August 1929. The next extension was to Salisbury Street on the 19th of February 1933, and the line was doubled to Normanby Road in 1933. The final extension was to Grand Promenade on the 8th of March 1943, and the line was doubled up to Salisbury Street. The service was terminated on the 19th of July 1958. The local school, Inglewood Primary School, opened in 1928 under the name of North Maylands Primary School. It continued under that name until 1950, when its name was changed to North Inglewood Primary School, and soon after to its current name, Inglewood Primary School. The local theatre was the Civic Theatre, which opened on the 12th of February 1936, showing the films Ginger and The Irish in the US. It closed on June 1st, 1962, showing the films Blue Hawaii and Tokyo After Dark. The local hotel is the Civic Hotel. It was built in 1940 for £12,000 for owner E.J. Riley. He also owned the Shaftesbury Hotel in Stirling Street in Perth. The builder was Plunkett's Builders of 98 Smith Street, Highgate. The architect was Summer Hayes and Marshall Clifton. The library, the Inglewood Library, was opened in May 1963, and the present library building was built in 1992, together with the Bob Daniels Centre. The Inglewood Police Station in 8th Avenue was built in 1940 and was formally opened on the 2nd of December that year by the Police Minister, William H. Kitson. It is protected from demolition. In conclusion, the name City of Stirling has been used to cover all three iterations of the municipality. Perth Roads Board from 1871 to 1961, the Perth Shire Council from 1961 to 1971, and the City of Stirling 1971 onwards. Fact 1. Mount Lawley, including Menora and Kilbinia and Inglewood, have always been together in the City of Stirling. Fact 2. These three areas have grown and developed in harmony and in parallel, Mount Lawley from 1902 through to 1960, Inglewood from 1905 through to 1950. Fact 3. Excepting some of the grand residences and prestige areas of Mount Lawley, the housing stock, in styles, fabric and scale, has been comparable in each area. Fact 4. The social complexion of this combined area has been largely the same. Rising professional classes with clerical and technical and commercial workers. Fact 5. This combined area has produced a good proportion of the leaders, mayors, etc. of the City of Stirling. For example, Neil Hawkins, CBE, was a resident of Inglewood at number 69 Normanby Road. Fact 6. The boundary of Mount Lawley has flowed seamlessly into the original Inglewood area from First Avenue to Central Avenue. Fact 7. These two suburbs have shared facilities, the library, the Inglewood Hotel, Hamer Park, etc., most provided by the City of Stirling. Fact 8. The Mount Lawley Society has a considerable and growing membership drawn from Inglewood, these being just as fiercely concerned to preserve the character and amenity of their area. Fact 9. Due to the activities of the Mount Lawley Society and with the support of the City of Stirling, groundbreaking heritage protection areas have been established in both suburbs. We would not have achieved this without the support of the City of Stirling.